Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about basil anchors. So you use your throw weight and your throw line to get, go over a nice limb or union, and you now have your rope partitioned in two. And what do you do next if you want to tie a basil anchor? Well, you have a number of options. I'll go from the most simple to the more complex. And this is going to be my first episode on basil anchors. There will be further additions showing increasingly more complicated ways to tie a basil anchor. So, having said that, let's get to it. First thing you're going to want to do is bring your rope around the tree. And this is called a running bowline, okay? And all you need to do, you might want to learn how to tie this knot, in hand before you try it on a tree. Because when you tie a bowline this way versus a regular bowline, it's actually the orientation is different. So it's good to know that. First thing you're gonna do, make the, classic. Should need a little more line here. Make the classic, coil here. First coil, then bring your rope around the other side, and then, just finish the knot. Okay, so I've tied a running bowline around this tree. Now, what do we know about bowlines? They're not secure enough on their own to climb with. So there's a number of finishes that you can do to make it more secure, like a Scott's lock finish or an Edwards bowline. There's a whole bunch of them. So with this, the easiest is the Yosemite finish. And what that is you just basically retrace the steps that you took to make the first coil here, and then go up through it. I have a video on this if you're interested in how to actually tie this with a close-up overhead shot. So this is the resulting knot. It is much more secure than just the bowline. And at this point you would just cinch it up like that. If you're climbing over here, you want your choke point to be over here. You don't want it right below it, because then it could potentially ride up. And we don't want that. And then next, you're just going to want to put all your body weight on it and, check. If you're able to, put another person's body weight on it with you to make sure that limb is good enough. So, what's next? You'll notice I tied this with a long tail. That's so I could show you the next way to tie a basil anchor. All you do for this method is to remove the Yosemite finish and secure it by tying a fisherman's knot over here I even like to do a triple fisherman, or a scaffold knot as it's known, just because this rope is relatively new and I need more friction. Okay, so now what I can do is I can cinch this down, so I can, now that I've cinched, oops, doesn't want to do it. So now that I've cinched this down here, okay, I can bring this out here, and what that does is it locks it in place. So that way, no amount of movement that I make in the canopy is going to reorient this in a bad way. Okay? So this is really great. So if I have it slack and I'm moving around, doesn't matter. It's perfectly good. And this seconds as a stopper knot. So next, I'm going to show you how to tie something with some hardware. Just bear with me here for a second. So, one way that you can do that is by incorporating a ring. And every climber should have at least one anchor ring for purposes, you know, I mean, there's so many different reasons to have an anchor ring. You know, better yet, have a collection of them. They're so useful. So what you do for this is you take a rated ring. This is a 34 millimeter ring from DMM, and you slip it on this, and then you can tie what's called, imagine I don't have this sewn eye at the end. Pretend it's just a regular end. So what you can do is you have this ring over here, and you can put your, first I'm not tying the knot right. First, what you're going to tie is a figure 8 follow through. So that requires that you first tie a figure 8 in the rope. Keep it relatively loose because you're going to retrace it in a moment. So then, once you've tied your figure 8 here, you're going to bring the end of your rope through the ring, and then create the loop for the figure 8 follow through, and then bring your rope, retrace what you just created in reverse. So just follow this thread that goes in here with the other end of the rope. And you want these strands to be relatively symmetric, and you want them to be parallel with each other, or run across or alongside each other. You see how the strands are not overlapping in any way? That's how you tie this knot. And then the last part and the important part is you pull, you grab, you choose a strand, and then so you have 4 strands that you need to tighten here. You have this one here, and then this one here. You can start here. So I pull here and here, and then keeping my hand on my original strand, I then pull on the other option over here, number 2. And then I move over to the second strand here, and then I pull on this, and then I pull on this. And that is the proper way to ensure that this is well set and dressed. And now you have a super secure knot. You can tie an additional stopper knot here if you want to. I don't find that that's very necessary. This knot alone is very secure. And so now, just like the others, you got your anchor ready to go. And because of the hardware, there's going to be a lot less friction in the system. No rope on rope. So that's good. Now what next? I got a little cheat sheet here. Oh, okay. Next is going to be a huge improvement and make this easier to function. If you have this one piece of hardware, you can easily tie canopy anchors and basil anchors much more easily than you would, if you didn't have it. Much better than a ring because it can open up. And what is this mystery hardware? Well, it's the notch quickie. Love this thing. My old one broke. I just got a new one the other day, and here's how you can use that. So now what I like to do is instead of having to do that awful knot where you have to retrace your steps and it's a long, tedious process, you can tie the same exact knot but with a bite. So do a figure 8 on a bite, super easy. Once again, mind your strands. I'm not going to go through all of that because we just did it. But so now what you can do is take your notch quickie and open it up. And then, place one end on the loop, and then one end on the rope. It's actually good to have it where the top of the pin, the head of the pin, is facing towards the tree. This could reorient at any time as you're climbing, and it will still be very secure. But just this device was designed to eliminate the threat of cross-loading. It does so, by a factor of 10x compared to like a carabiner, and it is not perfect. It can, open up, but I think I've heard about it once. I maybe even be imagining that. So anyway, once you've got this on there, you are good to go, and you just cinch it down. Ew, sap. And then you just weight it. Same deal. And then now, you can see here how it's pressed up against the wood here. And if it were on this side, it would be, testing the rating on these slick pins here. So we don't want to be doing that if we can avoid it. So what's next? Okay, so the next one is okay, so here we can use a ring again to do another neat trick. And you can see how easy it is to take this off. It's just second to none. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take, do I still have this ring on there? Yes, thank goodness. Okay, so we have this ring over here. And so we've got a ring on there, and what we can do now is if you have a regular end to your rope, you're going to have to tie a knot, and then that could be either a bowling with a Yosemite finish or a overhand figure 8 on a bite, or a figure of 8 on a bite. I don't know why I said overhand. But what you do now is to secure it, you put the bite of the knot through and then you just load it like this. So now what this does is it is very helpful. It basically allows you to open this system up under tension. So even if there's a climber's full weight on here, what you can do, and I forgot to do this for the others, but for any basil anchor that you make, you absolutely must put an alpine butterfly just above where the choke point is. And that is so that if you were to get stuck or injured or black out or something and be hanging up there, then rescuers can now basically, let me try and show you. Okay, so, sorry, I just gotta quickly disassemble my lanyard here. I was not prepared for this. Alright, here we go. So, you've gotten a climber, let's say a climber stuck up there, and you need to get them down. What you can do is with this system is you can put a rope onto the alpine butterfly, and now keep in mind that once you have your weight on this rope, it's too late for the butterfly. You can't tie that. There'll be too much tension in the rope. So that's why you have to always do it before every, climb, and on every basil anchor you do. Even the easiest one that I showed you, I should have shown it, but I was a little spacey. You always need to have an alpine butterfly there. It could save your life. So now that you have this, you can, do something like get this, you got a rope. Imagine this is a much longer rope, and you now can open up this carabiner. It'll be really hard to do, but you can definitely do it. If you have someone's weight on it, it's going to be a lot easier to do it showing you without it, but just imagine there's a lot of weight here. This is really hard to do, but you can do it, and then you pull it out, and while you're holding this, and then it comes free, and all the weight would immediately go onto this rope here, and then I can lower them down with this rope. You know what I'm saying? I should have shown you with this, but yeah, you just lower them down with the rope. Pretty cool system. Now, one way you can tie this without having to make an annoying knot is you can, if you have an eye, a sewn eye on your rope, which I do, or a spliced eye, any type of eye, or a slate, or a slice. You can, where'd the ring go? Just hit myself in the face. Ugh. All right, so you've got this ring, and all you got to do is same sort of deal. This is going to be too low or too high now, so I got to retie it. You're going to want to just simply have the ring on the rope, and then take your eye of any type, put it through. Grab a carabiner, and then just pop it on. You can, certainly reorient it like that if you want for maybe more security. I don't know that it actually is, but if it makes you feel better, then certainly do it. But it might make it harder to, when it comes time, if you ever needed it, with all the weight or tension on it, it might be hard to orient it in the way where you're going to be able to take it off. So that's something to consider. So now that you have this, once again, you're going to tie an alpine butterfly. Okay, dress and set that knot, and then you're good to go. Certainly, I just noticed this, you're going to want to make sure that the gate is away from this rope here. Just a little safety tip. So yeah, now that you've got that, you've got the same exact system. Someone can clip in here, put a rope around the tree, or around like a GCRS or any type of porta wrap or lowering device, and then you can just slip this carabiner off, and off it goes. So pretty cool. So now, I think there's one more that I have to show you. Yeah, so here's the last one, and it involves using a separate little anchor or a sling. A sling would work well. This is something I just made out of a lanyard rope with an anchor ring. You can so you want this one to be kind of like up a little higher, because it's got functional equipment on it that is best operated at this height, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So now I'm going to slip this eye through. If I were actually climbing on this, I would have stopper knot here, okay, trolls. And now I'm going to just cinch this down, and next I'm going to attach my gree-gree. Now, immediately it should be noted that a gree-gree is not the ideal thing to use. This is a wreck climbing tool. It's for belaying or abseiling or rappelling, but it's not intended to be used this way, but you can use it this way. The better option would be something like a Petzl rig, which is designed for something like this, like as a component of rescue. And there are other options that can be used, but in reality, you can use any sort of multi-sender device or, belay device, because you just can. I could use my Rope Runner Pro on here if I wanted to, but so anyway, enough talking. Oh, look at me! I went around my rope. Okay. So now what we can do, you can take gotta make sure you put these things in right. I think I might have done it wrong, but we'll see. No, I got it. All right. So with this, you can connect it to the eye of your sling. And now this method requires that you have your rope in thirds. So you need enough to get from your basal anchor up to your tie-in point, and then you need enough to come down, to the ground, and the device here, and you need enough to for you to be lowered the distance from the ground to where you are. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Because if you don't have enough, then when you try to lower someone, they're just gonna, not have enough room. So now, with this, all of my weight is being held by the device. Now it is paramount that you have a stopper knot at the end of the rope, the extra rescue rope. So that way, if you miscalculated anything and the climber is not quite on the ground and you run out of rope and you're not paying attention, it will not run through the device and cause the climber to fall. It'll just get lodged. So now with this one, you don't necessarily need an alpine butterfly, because you have this perfect system here where, if you were to weight it and you just need to let them, you can have a grounds person or a friend or anyone who's with you, just safely pull this, and there's too much friction on this limb here. Basically, it's going to run through the rope. If you had a body on this, this would run through like butter. But, I have this over a natural crotch, and it's just too much friction. It doesn't want to run. But basically, you can imagine that the rope's going to, when you pull this down, the rope's going to run down and the climber's going to descend. And then this rope here is going to run through it. So that's why you need enough. So, yeah, that's been all of the options here for a basal anchor. I hope you found that to be helpful. If you did, please hit the like button. Also consider subscribing. Your support means a lot to me. And what else? Oh, please, I'm going to start telling all my viewers to pay attention to my descriptions. I often have a lot of post thoughts, and I share a lot of interesting information and overviews through, you can get a lot of insights from my descriptions sometimes. So pay attention to those, and yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye.